Hey there, it's Joy Foster, founder of Tech Pixies, and I'm delighted today to be in the series of changing careers. Often when women change careers, they start businesses. And I have an incredible business with me today, Cool Wool by Carol. So it's a wonderful business that she's got going on. She's also one of our students, which is brilliant. So welcome, Carol. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good. Thanks, Joy. Lovely to talk to you.
It's wonderful to have you here today on the podcast. And I want to start by saying you've had some very courageous moments this year, some very brave moments this year.
Yeah.
Tell us about those brave moments that you've had.
Well, everything seems to have come to a head in the last few months. With COVID, I lost my main occupation, so I had to rely on my design work and so on. And so in the last few months, I've set up a website. I've added kits to my things that I sell, and I've been on TV demonstrating the kits, and I'm doing Tech Pixies just as a sideline.
Well, tell me what you were doing. What was your career pre-COVID?
Well, I've been in IT most of my life, and the last few years, I mean, I used to really enjoy it, and my crochet and knitting was just a sideline. But the last few years, the main job has been getting me down a bit. And then COVID hit and the job disappeared. So I realized at that point that I've got to step up. I've got to take what I've already done, and I've got to make something much more of it. But it's all happened really, really quickly. But some things have happened by fate, you know. It feels like that was meant to happen, like the TV thing. It's because a member of our family is a cameraman, and he was asked to set up a studio for knitting and crochet. And he said, "Can you believe that?" I said, "No, I'm on." So
let's explain to people what you do. So Cool Wool, you do knitting and crochet patterns, and you also create products.
Yeah, so I do, and I've got a number of hats actually. So I design patterns, which I used to sell on something called Ravelry, which knitters and crocheters will know about. I now also design kits, which have now gone onto my website, which I've got developed. I also actually, my background is a tech editor for patterns, so which means checking patterns for yarn companies and designers and books and all sorts. So that was my main sort of sideline before. But I also like to teach workshops. So of course with COVID, that's all stopped. So I've got a lot of hats, and I've got to get them all organised to go online, because I really want to take workshops online as well. That's one of the things for the future.
Absolutely. And, you know, the only way you can do a workshop right now is online. And of course, you are getting much more comfortable with video. So one of the things we teach at Tech Pixies is you've got to get on video.
When I did the first video, it was absolutely terrifying.
That was my question. Yeah. How did you feel when we challenged you to do the 1-minute video? You were terrified.
Well, it's actually not so much presenting, because I've done a lot of training courses in the past. So it's not so much that I'm worried about. It's getting the tech right that I find a little bit frightening. Not frightening, that's not right. I just want to get it right. And it's a little bit challenging to me at the moment.
Well, I think, you know, one of the things I've learned about tech, okay, and this is so important, it's not if things go wrong, it's when things go wrong. Yeah. Just in this last free training that we're having, the Facebook group broke. The Zoom call dropped off in the middle of the first training. The emails went to the wrong group. Oh, well, that was more user error. And actually, that wasn't this launch, it was a previous one. But I think what's really interesting is that the tech, you know, the tech will break. And it's just, it's how you cope with that, you know, and whether or not you're able to stay calm and collected and deal with it and just carry on, or whether you get, beat yourself up and, get upset and all this stuff. So I love that it's, it's a challenge to get it to go, but once it's going, it's great.
Yeah, that's the main thing. If it breaks, it breaks. That's not a problem. I've had to deal with all sorts of stuff on training courses in the past. So that doesn't worry me too much. It's just getting the right setup initially that I'm finding a little bit challenging. But I'll get there.
But you're getting through it, which is what I love about you, because you're just like I'm going to figure this out and get it done.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. But that's also a bit of a problem with me, because I'm like firing in all directions all at once, and I need to concentrate a little bit.
Well, I gave this analogy last night to the free training gals on the VIP. I said, if you're trying to kick 6 football fields down the field versus 1 football field down the field, like who's going to get to the end of the field faster, right? So sometimes it is a good idea to step back and go, okay, what's really going to move the needle forwards and what's not moving the needle forwards? What can I let go of and what can I keep? And when you're making that transition, right? I mean, I remember, you think about where a business is 5 years later versus when it's just starting. When you're just starting, you're not sure. You're not sure who your audience is. You're not sure exactly where your audience is, who they are, where they are, and how to communicate with them. And you have to fumble your way through that until you find that. So speaking of that, so where are your people? What network are they on? What's working for you on social media?
Well, I've always been an Instagram girl. Well, not always, but I'm getting more into that now. But I'm starting to think that's not quite right for me. I mean, I've got quite a few followers now, but I don't really see it going anywhere. I've had a revelation this week with Pinterest, because I've used Pinterest for ages as just a browser, just looking for ideas and inspiration and so on. But I didn't realize there was so much behind it. I didn't even realize you could comment on things and follow people and so on. So I really had limited knowledge. So I really want to get up to speed on that, because I think I've had a few looks around. Well, I know from browsing things before that I know there's a lot of people on there who I might be able to, engage with. So that's going to be a focus.
So we just introduced the Pinterest module this year.
Yeah.
We came on board. And we have a great episode on the podcast, episode 63, where Pip Isles talks about Pinterest. And we've got another episode coming up in January. So it's a great network to be on.
Yeah. But that's a huge learning curve for me, because, like I say, I've put 1 pin up yesterday.
And you got to start somewhere, Carol. You got to start somewhere.
I've linked it to my shop. See, I can see how useful it is for products. That's really easy. What I'm not so sure about is I also want to give tutorials on YouTube and so on, freebie ones, and getting that to sort of connect with Pinterest. So I think I might have a question in the question vault this week for Pip on that one.
Go for it. Well, and Pip does know all about how. Actually, I think she's very confident that Pinterest works very well for kind of workshops and teaching. Like driving traffic to that. The other thing too that I would suggest, which I know works really well for us, but also could work for you. And this came up in our free training. We've got people with all different backgrounds who are interested in all sorts of different things. But one thing you can do is create community. And one thing I love about Facebook groups is the ability to create pop-up Facebook groups. So you could create a pop-up knitting group. You could create a pop-up crochet group. You could do like a specific thing. I mean, we have a ukulele. I know we have a ukulele teacher in our midst. And what they've done is they've created a boot camp for teaching people how to play Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer for Christmas. So depending on when you're listening to this, but they have one goal. At the end of this boot camp, you're going to know how to play Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And then what they do is they say, if you want to carry on your journey, if you want to keep learning with us, you can join our membership. And then they have a membership for people to get ukulele training, going forward.
Yeah, that's probably a great way to start it. I mean, Facebook is going to be my other one. So I definitely know I want to do Pinterest, but Facebook, I've spent quite a bit of time on that. But still a lot to learn, obviously. But I was thinking the same thing, about having a group, because there's some people on there that I follow that have Facebook groups, and they've got huge memberships of people who love what they're all talking about together, So I think that's a real possibility to do that.
That's one thing I think Facebook does really well is community. I mean, I think a couple years ago they said, no, we're going to shift to community. And I think that shift has started to happen. And I know, I love running our pop-up group. I don't like running a free training group or free group all the time because you lose interest and all that. But I do love running them as little periods of time, as build-ups into our big course where we can serve people, and I think there's probably, you would be able to, I would love, I have tried to knit and crochet and I am terrible at it, but I have I'm not as good I'm not as good at it as I'd like to be yet. That's true. But, I know that I would need someone to show me how to do it. And so I think that there's, I learned how to play the ukulele. I didn't know how to play the ukulele because I'm doing a boot camp. So.
Exactly. Okay. Wow. That's a great idea. Because I've got a lot of background in the industry, I like teaching the techniques that are a little bit different, a little bit tricky maybe. So I haven't yet focused on the beginners much, to be honest.
But maybe you don't need to. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. But maybe you niche down on the people who are more advanced, because that's also
that's another thought that's swirling around, and it hasn't landed anywhere yet to decide for definite.
Well, here's the thing, right? Taking action is when you find out whether or not it works. And it's really interesting because with Matt and Amanda, they ran a children's boot camp first, teaching children how to play the ukulele because that's his background. And then everyone said, well, what about the adults? And so then they ran an adult one, and it was a huge uptake. So now the parents and the kids are playing together. So I do think, it's not about which one's going to work and which one do I choose. It's about, okay, let's try this one. Okay, let's try this one. And then see what you prefer.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea because I don't want to narrow out things that might actually work really well, So I do need to try a lot of things. So I wish there were more days in the week.
Well, now listen, when you're trying new things, it's also about letting go of other things, right? So, if you're going to add new shoes to your closet, which shoes are you going to take out? You're going to add a new jacket to your closet.
Because there is something that I've been thinking about, and that is, at the moment, the tech editing part of what I do is where I've been earning the money. Not great money, but I've been earning the money, and that is the thing that is still paying the bills, if you like. But I feel that's quite limiting because it's just me, and I'm paid by the hour. That's never going to turn into a bigger business than it is now, really, because it's limited by the fact that it's me and I have to work for those hours to do it. Whereas creating things and putting them out there, you've got much more chance of your business growing, I believe. So I'm starting to think, I hope my other half isn't listening, that I need to maybe wind down the tech editing, but I need to build the other more first, obviously.
Well, and that's, but the thing is then you've got a plan, right? You've got a plan, and you can build up the one and wind down the other at the same time, and that's, you'll be very tired, but once you get through it, it'll be worth it. So you have this choice. I can exchange hours for pounds, or I can build something that actually, like the patterns, once you've created the patterns and you start selling the patterns, you don't have to create those patterns again. You just have to sell more patterns, right?
Exactly.
And teaching is a similar way. Once you've built your course, and you can build your course live, like when I ran Tech Pixies the first time online, I had no curriculum. I had no, all this fancy stuff you guys have, I did not have. I sat on the Zoom with people once a week for an hour and just dropped my brain out to them about what I do. So it doesn't have to be, perfect. It's done, not perfect, right? So I do think when people set up a course online for the first time, what they can do is you can set up a private Facebook group, and you can say, if you want to join my course, you pay to join the Facebook group, and that you can do it that way. So especially with a skill like this, with Matt and Amanda, that's how they were able to do the ukulele boot camp. They actually charged for people to go into the boot camp. But it's just about educating yourself about how to do that. But you can also do free and then sell up to a bigger course, etc. But I think that online learning space is a big space right now, and it takes a bit of tech nuances, tech savvy to get it all together. But you've got that tech savvy, so that's a bonus. But I think that I think that the thing is that once you've got the systems working, it's similar to the patterns. You know, once the course has been filmed the first time or the second time or the third time, and once you've got those assets, then what you're doing is you're giving people instructions, and then what you're doing is you're enhancing those instructions with live training. So, you know, but I love what you're thinking there, like going away from, you know, pounds per hour to how can I take my time and, you know, create one pattern that then could sell 1,000 times.
That's it's a bit of a no-brainer, really, but it's you know, it's all part of the thought processes that you go through, isn't it, to get to that point. So the other challenge is that all the freebies that are out there on YouTube, that, I mean, anybody wants to learn to knit or crochet goes to YouTube and watches things, but there's some awful stuff out there, I have to say. But I want to, so I want to add my specialist knowledge in, you know, to my courses, so that all the hints and tips that I've come across over the years, and I want to build all that in. So I think it is worth more than just free tutorials on YouTube. So
and there's nothing wrong with being the premium person on the market. That works really well, you know, for you know, and the thing is that you don't have to do things for free. I don't advocate doing things for free all the time. I will say in some cases it's a great way to build your awareness, so people are aware of you, and that's why people do it. But the one thing I will tell you is people learn better in the online space when there's a live element, and that really matters. And actually Katie's just said this too. It's the community that matters over YouTube, you know, and I think it's building, and you can do YouTube, no problem, but it's about building that community around people who love you and love what you teach and love how you teach it. Because there's only one you, Carol. There's only one you with your specialist knowledge, your experience, your creativity, your patterns. And there's probably 100 people who learn to knit from, but they're going to resonate with you for a reason. So it's also making sure that you're telling your story, why you love wool, why you love knitting, why you love crochet. So that would be important too. So how did you get into it?
Oh, goodness. Do you know, I sometimes think I could knit before I could walk. You know, my mum taught me so at a very early age. I've always loved crafts, to be honest. I used to, you know, I was the true Blue Peter watcher. Lots of you are too young to remember that probably, but I used to make everything that they did. So I've always loved crafts. My mum taught me to knit and crochet, but she was actually a seamstress who learned her trade with John Lewis. So she was a really good seamstress, but oh my goodness, sewing, I never got into that. Isn't that strange? It's mechanical. It's a mechanical thing. I hate sewing machines. They scare me to death. But I want to be doing things myself with my hands. You know, I wouldn't use a knitting machine, for instance. It's got to be me creating it. So yeah, it's all down to my lovely mum. Bless her.
Well, I love that. And I love how, you know, generations can, one generation can lead to another generation doing something and learning something. So, well, we're about to wrap up here, but I want to thank you for your time. I want to ask, you know, you've been in the Tech Pixies program for a little while now. How have you found it?
Oh, fantastic. But like I say, I wish there were more hours. The first week, I will definitely go with you when you always say now, do the videos, do the quiz, do the videos, do the quiz. The first week on Facebook, I tried to do all the stuff in the background, everything that's in the library, and I got a bit burnt out. So the next week I did what you'd said. I actually listened.
Oh, you listened to me. Amazing.
So I'm doing that now, but what I'm looking forward to is the break over Christmas. I'm going to concentrate on the Pinterest stuff. I do want to get really into that, and also the strategy. I had to leave that because things are going a bit manic then. So I love the fact that I can come back and do it again and again and again. That is just absolutely wonderful to me. And I also didn't follow your advice when I signed up for Amy, because you said somewhere, you said, I would finish the Tech Pixies course first, really, before you sign up. sign up. So I've got that to do as well.
Well, but so did you get DCA?
Yes, yeah.
Brilliant. So Carol, you're
the List Builder Society thing.
Perfect. You're in the right hands. So, I'm a huge fan of List Builder Society, and I definitely recommend that you finish the course and then do that one. But look, you've got it. You've got it for life. You can do that when you're ready. They're perfect complement course. List Builder Society is a perfect complement course to Tech Pixies. Carol, I want to thank you so much for your time. If someone was sitting on the fence and they were saying, should I join? Should I not join? What would you tell them?
Oh, do it, man. It's a no-brainer. Honestly, it really is, because I can't believe how much I've learned in the last few weeks. I mean, what's it been, 5-6 weeks maybe? I don't know. So much. But the community as well is absolutely fantastic, and support. And you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know a lot.
Well, you do now, and you've been so brave. Well, I really appreciate your time. It's been wonderful chatting with you this morning, and thanks for being brave and being a wonderful part of our community.
Thanks, Joy.